Welcome to the DooDoo Divas Smells Like Money podcast. I'm your host, Suzanne Chin-Taylor, CEO and founder of Creative Raven, the firm that helps wastewater industry contractors and manufacturers unlock the power of digital marketing, AI, and PR to boost sales and opportunities. Whether it's through our online marketing and lead generation programs or providing a fully outsourced marketing department, we are passionate about helping businesses in the wastewater and civil infrastructure sectors not just survive, but thrive in today's digital world. Each episode, I'll be bringing you expert tips and strategies to help you grow and succeed. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the DooDoo Divas Smells Like Money podcast. Today, we are visiting with Dr. Heather Fenyck. Good, I got that right. And she is a lecturer at Rutgers University, which is in New Jersey, and also is the founder and board president of the Lower Raritan Watershed Partnership. And that's the thing that we're really going to be focusing in this series of episodes with Dr. Fenyck. And I think a lot of you, buckle up and tune in, because the things that we're going to be talking about today, they're a little off the beaten path. They're things that you may not be aware of, have not even thought about as it relates to watershed management, wastewater, stormwater, how it affects the environment, and also our communities in ways that most people may not recognize or be aware of. We're also going to dive into some history. And what makes these next three episodes very exciting for me is that this is all going to be talking about things that are happening in my hometown and the surrounding region of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So shout out to anybody listening there from the city of brotherly love. And so with that, welcome to the show, Dr. Heather.
Thank you so much, Suzanne.
So I first want to talk about, when we met, you shared with me some really interesting information about, my hometown. And how, the legacy in combined sewers, we all know that is just, it's a recipe for, there's going to be problems no matter what. And I know some cities, are going through great big, separation projects, but due to how infrastructure is built, sometimes they don't always have that option of separating those sewers. So they just have to deal with the fallout from what happens during wet weather events. And so you told me that there are major issues that happen in the New Jersey and Philadelphia area regarding this, but that the implementation of green infrastructure is making a positive impact in I would say, the level or the severity of the effect when these things happen. And so I wanted you to share with our audience what you've seen and that has been working in the method of green infrastructure, what they're doing, how it's all happened, and what's been the impact in that area from your perspective.
Sure, yeah. Well, thank you, Susan. So first of all, it is maybe a little too early to get a really strong sense of green infrastructure's impact on historic combined sewer overflow or CSO communities. As you said, we have a situation where it's just simply too expensive to retrofit many of our CSO communities. And really the only thing we have to throw at it right now is our best ideas and best practices regarding green infrastructure. So much of this that I've seen is focused on reducing the amount of sewage flows in streets after storms. In the case of Philly and the Pennsylvania example, there has been significant support. My understanding is significant support to do the expensive work of separating those combined sewers. And in fact, we have most of our New Jersey towns also separated. However, it's the remainder, some of the very poorest, oldest communities that are trying to envision alternatives to, in some cases, maybe hundreds of $1 million exercise to do the disengage. So with the green infrastructure, again, there's a goal with the combined sewers to, in those combined sewer communities, to reduce the amount of sewage in our streets, to reduce odors, to minimize the impact of pathogenic bacteria and fecal contamination coming out of the sewers into our waterways. And green infrastructure initiatives can be as small as a rain garden or a rain barrel used in an apartment complex.
Okay.
This could also be planter boxes, maybe green roofs, scaling all the way up to much larger flood control projects where you're trying to do the job of detaining or retaining flows after significant storm events, and slow release of the storm waters after those events so that you aren't inundating your combined sewer system. So it's a mixed bag of offerings ranging from very simple, as I said, rain gardens, rain barrels, planting of street trees, which do often a wonderful job of wicking up the precip after storms, to much larger scale, what's still called green infrastructure, but may be basins the size of swimming pools that are doing catch of stormwater for slower release.
Interesting. Well, you had told me that, and I'm looking at my notes here, that your organization has been focusing on this and also community-based water quality monitoring. And so what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so we are interested in supporting community member knowledge and awareness of recreational risk. If you want to go fishing or paddling, canoeing, kayaking in
Right.
your local waterway, we would hope that you would continue to do so, just with proper precautions. We want folks to be as informed as possible about acute risks, primarily related to rainfall events, significant precipitation events. And we conduct water quality monitoring in the New Jersey area at non-bathing public access beach sites. So we have our State Department of Health regularly checking for pathogenic bacteria at our shore points. You'll likely hear of beach closures on the East Coast. Those are announced by our departments of health, either our State Department of Health or our County Department of Health. Well, it's the case in a lot of our coastal communities that have large tributaries, large river networks that connect with our harbors, our bays, our coasts, that our community members can't necessarily make it to the shore. They don't necessarily have the resources, transportation access, to go to the shore for a day holiday. And so they'll go to their local river, as their swimming hole, so to speak. For again, fishing, paddling, canoeing and kayaking. Here I'm in New Brunswick, New Jersey, a home of Rutgers University. The Rutgers class of 1914 boathouse is where our men's and women's crew team on the Raritan River. They go out almost every morning to practice in preparation for their regattas. And doing the work of water monitoring throughout the summer months, capturing water samples and doing lab analysis, looking for in the presence of enterococcus and presence of fecal contamination. We then take that information and report out on our non-bathing public access beach sites, locations where our state and county health departments are not doing active monitoring. We report out potential risk for those areas where we know that hundreds of people are regularly engaging in primary contact with the water. In the case of, as I said, the Rutgers boathouse, where our undergraduate crew team members are practicing on a daily basis. They don't have regular monitoring except for that conducted by the nonprofit that I'm involved with. So we do that sampling. We report out with the raw data, presence of enterococcus, presence of fecal, looking at presence in relation to the federal standard and federal maximums. And we provide the raw data in addition to green smiley faces if there are low levels of contamination, or red frown faces if risk is, if we need to flag risk for our population. So that's core to what we do, is that monitoring and science communication piece. And then we turn around and go upstream from there to do the work of advocacy. Okay, so we do have the flows of pathogens, the stormwater runoff into our waterways causing problems. How do we address that? How do we support our municipalities in appropriate policy responses and appropriate land use responses? So we look, up, if not literally upstream, then uphill, to support our towns in doing street tree planting, in rain gardens, in more stormwater capture at high points to minimize the amount of hard surface or impervious cover that would, just contribute to the loading, the stormwater runoff loading. And we do that, our organization does that in many, many very creative ways that aren't just green infrastructure, a lot of arts engagement as part of the science communication piece to get people aware of these issues.
When you said, did you say arts engaged?
Arts, we do tons of arts engagement. So
tell me more about that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, year before last, we worked with a group of dancers and choreographers. We received a grant from our county arts commission to develop a community engaged dance project whereby kids during their summer school, summer camp experiences were learning dances or learning movements that they then took to the streets during what we call the runoff. It was a stormwater runoff. These kids were performing as raindrops downhill. With costumes, with hundreds of people learning these dances, stopping traffic. What is this? Folks are like, what's going on? But we were communicating both to the kids, what stormwater runoff is. They were embodying the experience of being a raindrop, but we were videoing this. We were creating mini documentaries about everything from when you have a certain slope to the landscape, water droplets move faster, or our dancers move faster down that slope. When you have half an inch of rain, you're moving at this rate down that slope. When you have an inch and a half of rain, you're moving at this rate. When you have 2.5 inches of rain, you're moving at this rate. So we're really trying to bring an embodied but really deep community understanding of what stormwater is, so that when our city council, when our elected officials are making land use decisions about how development is taking place in the floodplain or in uphill locations, our community members can say, oh, wait a minute. I was a raindrop in this exercise. And we pooled in mass at the bottom of the hill in the floodplain where you're proposing a new multi-unit apartment building for how many people? Or they can say, we now understand better why we have the incredible flood risks that we have in our communities in low-lying areas. We need to do better hazards mitigation preparedness around flood concerns for our towns. So we're supporting community members in alternative green infrastructure thinking, using the arts. That's just one example.
Oh, I think that is so neat. I can just imagine all these kids running down this hill in these like costumes, like bubble costumes, like a raindrop, and how much fun that must have been from that for them. So it was edutainment at its fine.
Edutainment. Yeah.
Edutainment. That was amazing. And there it is that I think we have to start really thinking outside of, I hate that expression, but outside the box. We have to start getting really, really creative in helping our communities understand how vital the infrastructure, the wastewater, the stormwater, and how it all interplays and eventually affects the watershed. That it's not, oh, that's the dirty sewer water. Oh, that's stormwater. It's all really one water. And we're all drawing from it at one point or another, or using it for our own pleasure. Like you were saying, I'm not going to go to the beach, but I want to kayak on the river. Is that going to be safe for me today? And
Absolutely.
so
Right.
it's,
Right.
I love that. And that kind of opens us up to maybe like the tie into what we're going to be talking about a little later in another episode. And that's about the environmental justice, or should we say injustice, for communities that are being impacted by these wet weather events. And so with that, I will close it there. And so for those of you listening who would really, would like to connect with Dr. Heather and, maybe share insights or learn more about some of the very creative ways that her partnership is really making a difference in their community, how can they get a hold of you, Doctor?
Sure, yeah. Well, Lower Raritan Watershed Partnership, it's lowerraritanwatershed.org. So we have a web presence. We have YouTube videos. We're on social media, Instagram and Facebook. You can see many of the examples of our initiatives on our social media pages. You can see videos of the Runoff dance performance on YouTube, and feel free to engage with us in our website platform. Yeah, we have an abundance of resources in terms of communicating green infrastructure best practices, as well as storytelling about water quality, about how our arts initiatives have been received locally, about community engagement, because really, if we aren't working collectively, as a community to address these issues, we are not going to be as successful as we need to be, given what we see as much flashier storms, given what we see as climate change, given what we see as just egregiously failing water infrastructure of all types. And particularly for our landscape, we're almost at sea level. We're incredibly vulnerable to all of these issues, right? As are many communities, coastal communities. So Lower Raritan Watershed Partnership, again, is our organization, and Lower Raritan Watershed .org on the internet.
Well, thank you, Doctor. And I'm sure that, what you were just sharing, lots of great resources. I invite audience, if this is something that has piqued your interest, to go visit it. Maybe it'll help you get some ideas for things that you might want to incorporate in your community. And so I want to thank you, Doctor, for sharing your knowledge and the story of the organization. And I'm really looking forward to continuing this conversation about our next topic, which is going to be about urban planning and historic hydrology, and how understanding our past can really help us plan for our future. And so with that, I want to thank you for listening. And until next time, keep it flowing. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. If you're ready to take your marketing to the next level and start increasing sales and opportunities for your business, reach out to us at Creative Raven. We're here to help you thrive in the digital landscape. Visit creativeraven.com or click the link in the show notes below to schedule a call and learn how we can support your growth. If you enjoyed the insights on today's episode, be sure to hit subscribe so you'll never miss an update. Until next time, keep growing and keep it flowing.